Lakshman is Chinese. Hi, Lakshman, good morning. Lakshman, can you hear me? Lakshman, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, guys. So in the last class, we have discussed about the concept of arrays, right? Like, why do you need an array? Like, what is the requirement an array in the real-time application? So we have seen different implementations of your one-dimensional arrays as well as multi-dimensional arrays. Any questions from last session?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So as we discussed, whenever you want to group set of data elements of similar type, then your approach should be towards an array. Okay. So when you talk about array, we have seen a lot of advantages. At the same time, we also have identified some disadvantages. What are those? Whenever you want to define an array, the type of your data should be specified within the programming environment. Once this gets defined, it is going to accept only the similar data elements. In one of the requirement, in one of the scenario, I have a requirement of storing collection of data elements of different data types. Like 2 integers, 2 floats, 2 strings, and 2 characters. Is that possible with your array? No. In case of array, it is a type safe collection. Type safe means the type of data should be defined within the programming environment. Once it gets defined, it is going to accept only similar data elements. And when it comes to collection, your data will be stored in the original formats. I mean, if I store integer, it will be stored as integer. If I store some string, it will be stored as string. Whatever the type is defined here, it accepts only similar data elements, and the type will be stored in the original format. So it is a type safe collection. Whenever you want to extract the data member, no conversion is required because it is being stored in the original format. You just need to pick it and do your operation. That's it. You don't have to convert it into any other data type. So the first disadvantage is if you want to hold collection of data elements of different data types, that cannot be possible through your array, because the type of data should be defined at the time of declaration. Once it is defined, it is going to accept only that kind of data, only similar data elements. If it is int, it will accept only integer values. If it is float, it will accept only float values. If you need to hold collection of data elements of multiple data types, then it's not possible. That is one of the first disadvantage identified with your array collection. And second and major drawback is size. Whether you will define the size within the program environment or at the runtime. But before storing elements to your collection, you should decide the size of your collection, like how many elements are going to be stored, how much space has to be allocated. The size of your array should be defined either within the programming environment or at the runtime. Once the size gets defined, let's say I define my size as 5. What it will do? It will accept only 5 elements. If you want to add 6th element, no, it will not be accepted. Once it gets defined, it is going to be constant throughout the process. If you want to increase the collection, if you want to store more number of elements into that collection, will it be accepted? No, it will not be accepted. In one of the scenario, see, if you are really aware of how many elements are going to come from the end user, then you can define the size. In one of the scenario, I'm not sure about the size. Sometimes he sends 10 elements, sometimes he sends 20, sometimes he sends 30. I'm not aware of the size. It differs from scenario to scenario. Now I'll be able to accommodate a number of elements into my collection because I'm not sure about the size. In this case, how do I define my size? It's very difficult. But when it comes to array, the size should be defined first. But in my scenario, I'm not sure about the size. User can enter n number of elements. He can send n number of elements. We should be able to accommodate n number of elements. So that is not possible with your array. In case of array, size should be defined first. Once it is defined, it accepts only those many elements. It cannot be changed. That leads to a problem. I cannot accommodate all scenarios using array. Already mean. So this is one of the biggest disadvantage identified with your array collection. Here, what is our requirement? Irrespective of the things, you should be able to hold collection of data elements of different data types using a single collection, which is not possible with array. And what is our second requirement? I don't want to define the size. And number of locations should be allocated based on my requirements. The moment whenever the new item is added, then only the new location has to be created, like your linked list. Like your linked list, single linked list and double linked list in C and C++. You might have gone through single linked list and double linked list in C or C++. What is the need of a linked list? To overcome the drawbacks of an array, C system, C++ system has introduced the concept of linked list. What is the concept of linked list? You don't have to specify any size of your collection. You can add n number of elements on the fly based on your requirement. The moment whenever a new item is added, then only the new location will be created. You can keep on adding n number of items. You can keep on generating n number of locations. There is no limit. You don't have to define any size. So here, to overcome the drawback of array, here also we need the similar kind of concepts. We need a collection like linked list. We need a collection like linked list. Already me. So that's why what Microsoft has done to overcome the drawbacks of your array, they have introduced a powerful linked list concept, which is called ArrayList. To overcome the drawbacks of your array, so what C# has done? They have implemented another powerful collection using single linked list. That collection is called as array. This has been implemented with the concept of single linked list. Means it allows you to store any type of data. You don't have to specify the type of data within the programming environment. It allows you to store collection of data elements of different data types. And second advantage, you don't have to specify any size. You can store n number of elements based on your requirement. You can store n number of elements on the fly. The number of locations would be generated based on your requirement. And as I said, ArrayList has been implemented using the concept of linked list, single linked list. And as I said, it allows you to store any type of data, but internally, data will not be stored in the original format. You can store any type of data, but internally, the data will be converted into object type. So every data will be stored in the form of an object. It means it is not a type safe collection. Type safe means data should be stored in the original formats. But when it comes to ArrayList, these are the advantages. You can store any type of data. You don't have to specify the size. The only disadvantage is data will not be stored in the original format. You can store integer, character, float, string. You can store any type of data. Internally, your original type will be converted into a reference type called object type. In the beginning, we have discussed the data types, right? We have two types, value type and reference type. What is value type? The value type storage will take place on the stack. Heap will be stored on the, reference type will be stored on the heap. Only string and object comes under reference type. And except string and object, remaining all other data types comes under value type. So here what it is doing, it allows you to store any type of data, but internally, your original data will be converted into object and it will be stored in the form of an object data type. When you talk about object comes under reference type. So your data type will be converted into reference type. Now, if I want to retrieve my data from the collection, what has to be done? Now it is in the form of object. I stored integer, but internally it got converted into object and it has been stored in the form of object. Now, If I retry my data, what happens? It will be coming in the form of an object. In order to extract my original data, what has to be done? Object has to be converted into your integer type, your original data type. That object has to be converted into respective original data type, either integer, string, character, right? Here we have stored an integer. What is integer? Integer is a value type that got converted into object, and internally it is being stored in the form of an object. And if I want to extract my data from the collection, what has to be done? Object has to be converted into my original data type called integer. While storing your data, you're converting it integer into object. So this conversion will be done automatically. You don't have to do anything. If you store something, the collection will take care of converting that into object. So if I'm storing integer, it is getting converted into object. What is integer? Integer is value type. And what is object? Reference type. So when you store your data, your integer will be converted into object. It means your value type will be converted into object type. The process of converting value type into reference type is called as boxing. This is very, very important, boxing. And in collection, my data is stored in the form of object. Now, if I want to see my original value, what has to be done? Object has to be converted back to your original data type called integer. What is object? Reference type. What is integer? Value type. Now, what has to be done? This reference type has to be converted back to value type. So reverse process. The process of converting reference type into value type is called as unboxing. Are you with me? So in case of your ArrayList collection, here we have a lot of advantages. You can store any type of data, you can store any number of elements. But in case of ArrayList, data will not be stored in the original format. It is not a type safe collection. The moment when you store something into your collection, boxing will take place. It means your data will be converted into object. And when you try to extract something in your collection, unboxing has to take place. Means your original data type has to be converted into respective. Your object data type has to be converted into respective original data type. Your object has to be converted into integer. It means unboxing takes place. So in case of non-type safe collections, the boxing and an unboxing will come into the picture. Some conversion is required. In the process of converting one data type to another data type, you might see some data loss in few rare cases. But in case of types of collection, your data will be stored in the original format. No conversion is required. No boxing and unboxing is required. You can directly pick your data and perform your operation. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So for example, here I'm defining a variable. Int a is equal to 10. Int is value type. If you want to store your integer in the form of an object, what has to be done? Your integer has to be converted into object format. So I define a variable of type B, converting A into object type. Are you with me? In B, you will see 10 only, but it will be stored in the form of an object. So the process of converting value type into reference type is called as boxing. And the reverse process, right? Now B holds some integer values, but it is an object type. If I want to convert B back to my original data type integer, like this, B is an object, but which has internally it contains integer value. I'm just trying to convert it back to integer. So the process of converting object into value type, means reference type into value type, is called as unboxing. Okay. So let's see how to implement an ArrayList in C#. Okay, and how to store different types of elements using your ArrayList collection. So when you talk about ArrayList, like your linked list in C, you don't have to create any nodes, you don't have to link anything. Right? To reduce the burden on the developer, so Microsoft has already done this. They made it, like available with a lot of options. Like your C or C++, you don't have to create any nodes explicitly, you don't have to link them explicitly. Those things will be done automatically. So they have provided some methods You just need to call those methods to make it dynamic collection. That's all. So the process of creating nodes, linking them, and assigning address, that stuff will be automatically taken care by ArrayList. That implementation has already been done by Microsoft. Okay. And now all you need to do here is you just to know how to initialize your collection and how to use it. That means how to insert elements into your collection and how to remove elements from your collection. Okay. See, when you talk about ArrayList, till now we have seen system.dll and we have discussed a lot of classes that are available with your system.dll. Apart from system.dll, Microsoft is providing another base class library called system.collections.dll. System.collections.dll. So this DLL comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collections namespace. One of them is system.collections namespace. When you talk about a namespace will have set of classes, structures, and other stuff. When you talk about system.collection namespace, it comes with set of classes. One of them is ArrayList. One of them is ArrayList. So your ArrayList collection has been provided in the form of a class. And this class comes with set of methods. Some of them are add, remove, and count. Whenever you want to insert a new item into your ArrayList collection, call add method. Creation of your nodes, linking of your nodes, that will be done automatically by your add method. Whenever you want to remove something from your ArrayList collection, call remove method. Delinking of nodes and other stuff will be automatically done by your remove. You don't have to write even single line of code to handle that kind of stuff. And if you want to know the size of your collection, call count method. Alright to me. Once again, I repeat, we have a DLL called system.collections.dll. It comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collection namespace. It comes with set of classes. One of them is ArrayList. This class comes with set of methods. Some of them are add, remove, and count. Whenever you want to insert a new item into your collection, call add method. It will take care of inserting any type of element into your collection. And if you want to remove any data element from your collection, call remove. And if you want to know the size of your collection, like how many elements are there in my collection, call count method. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, sir.
Okay. And the thing is, how do I use this in my C# environment? As I said, if you want to insert a new item, you have to call add method. But when you talk about add method, add comes with a class called ArrayList. ArrayList comes with a namespace called system.collection. So what has to be done? First, you have to get this namespace imported into your programming environment, right? So once it gets imported, now you can start using your ArrayList class. In order to call add, so when you talk about add, remove, or count, these are non-static methods. These are non-static methods. We have seen the difference between static and non-static. So what has to be done in case of non-static? If you want to call a static method, you don't have to create any object for your class. Using class name, you can directly call your non-static method. Something like console.read, console.write. Read and write, those are non-static methods. Read and write are static methods. That's why whenever you need to call read and write, you don't have to create any object for your console class. Rather, using class name, you can directly access those methods. Something like console.read, console.write. If it is a static, you don't have to instantiate that class. Using class name, you can directly access those methods. If ArrayList is a static, or if add is a static, I can call something like ArrayList.add, ArrayList.remove, ArrayList.count. But these are non-static methods. Now, what has to be done? Whenever you want to call any non-static property of a class, what has to be done? This has to be instantiated explicitly in the calling environment. Wherever you want to call these methods, there you should create instance of your class, and using that instance, you will be able to make calls to all these methods. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's see how
No.
to implement this in our. Yeah, yes, someone is asking something. Okay. Let's see how to implement this. So as I said, whenever you want to access that particular class, that corresponding namespace has to be imported into your programming environment. So what is the namespace here? System.collections. Let's get this imported using system.collections. Right. Now, whatever the class that are available in this namespace, I can start using them in my programming environment. Okay, now we are going to implement ArrayList. As I said, if you want to insert a new item into ArrayList, you have to call add method. Add is a non-static method. So if I want to make a call to this, first that corresponding class has to be instantiated explicitly in the calling environment. It means first you should create object of your ArrayList. That is what I'm going to do here. ArrayList, some movie list. I would like to store collection of movies in my ArrayList is equal to new ArrayList. Okay. What are we doing here? We are instantiating this class, creating object of your ArrayList class. Once this object gets created, now you can start accessing all those non-static methods. What is the object name? Movie list. Dot. See, now I can see, I can access each and every property of my class. Public properties of my class. Right? So as I said, whenever you want to insert a new item into your ArrayList collection, we have to call a method called add. When it comes to add, see, it expects a value to be supplied in object format. Means you can insert anything, but it will be stored in the form of a object. But now you have to decide how many elements are to be stored into your collection. So in array, we used to define the size. We used to take only those many elements. But here, there is no size. What is our action here? Ask user to enter the element, read that element, store it into your collection. And this same exercise has to be executed repeatedly those many times. If the user wants to store 100, it has to be executed 100 times. If he wants to store 1000, it has to be executed 1000 times. So do I need to write the same action again and again?
No.
No. Now what should I do? Guys, quick. You're right. Please be loud.
For loop, but how can we use for loop if we don't have the endpoint, sir? We don't know how many values we might be taking, so we can't use the for loop.
Now think about it. Basically, you have to use a loop. If something has to be executed repeatedly, that can be possible through only loop. Now you have to decide which loop has to be used. Is that going to be while, for, or do while? Right? So as we said, there is no end limit specified, like how many times it has to be repeated. But still you have to achieve it. How do I go about it? We don't know how many users will be entered by the user. Right? So in this case, what you have to do? You have to ask him to enter the choice. Hey, do you want to add one more item? If he say yes, proceed. Ask him to enter, read that, push it into your collection. Again, ask him, hey, do you want to add one more item? Can I do like this?
Okay. Nice.
Are you getting me? You have to find out the alternate option. Okay, the limit is not there. Then how do I go about it? Right? So here we are going to give that choice to the end user. You have to read choice from the end user because we are going to decide this dynamically at runtime. We are not specifying anything within the programming environment. You should pick up everything on the fly. Are you with me? So as long as he says yes, you should keep on inserting. Whenever he feels like, okay, I've inserted all my items, then he will say no. Once he says no, you should stop inserting items into your collection. Right to me. In this case, where should I start? I should start from S. Where should I end? I should start at end. In this case, there is no 0, there is no 1, there is no numerical value. Right? You should keep on taking the choice. As long as he says yes, you should keep on moving until he says no. Right? So that's why I'm going to define a variable called string user choice. Initially, we have to read at least one element from the end user, right? That's why I'm just setting it to yes. Okay, we have to get at least one element just to complete the first iteration of your loop. I'm just setting it to yes. Now what I will do, while user choice is equal to yes, right? Till he says yes, the loop has to be repeated. Every time it will check user choice. For the first time, we set it to y. Yes, for the first time, this is going to be true. Now what has to be done? Ask user to enter the movie name. Console.writeLine. Please enter the movie name. So once you enter this movie name, okay, you can directly add it to your collection. I'm just defining a variable, string movie name. Read this into this variable and add this into your collection. Movie name is equal to console dot. Guides, you have to guide me. What should I use to read that value?
Read line.
Very good. Console dot read line. Do I need to convert it?
No, it's a string anyway.
The target is string. It is going to read in string. Okay, very good. Now what has to be done? This has to be inserted into your collection. We already inserted. So now we are going to insert this into ArrayList collection. So we already created object of this ArrayList. Now what should I do? If you want to insert a new item to your collection, you have to call a method called add. Right? What is my object name? Movie list dot add. What has to be inserted? Movie name has to be inserted. Right, done. But the first time we set it to yes. When control comes to your while loop, it will check this condition. Whether user choice is y, yes. First time we set it to y, so this is going to be yes. Y is equal to y, condition is true. It will go inside of your loop. Ask user to enter the first movie name and reads that movie name, inserts that into add. Now you have to ask user to enter the choice. Hey, do you want to add one more movie? Say yes or no. Ask him to enter the choice. If he wants to add one more movie, he will enter yes. Otherwise, he will enter no. If it is yes, read that choice. Read me. Read that choice and store it into user choice variable. Next, it will check. If he has entered y, okay, the condition will become true. It will be repeated for next time. If he enters n, condition is going to be false. The process will be stopped right there. Right? So let's ask him to enter his choice. Console dot write line. Hey, do you want to add one more movie? Educate him. What has to be entered? Y or n. It means he will think that, oh, if I want to add one movie, I have to enter Y. Otherwise, I have to enter no. Now, what has to be done? Read this choice and store it into user choice is equal to console dot read line. Right? Now, we are asking to enter choice. You will enter either Y or N. We are reading it into user. Let us assume that users has entered N. Now, what it will do? It will go to your loop. Again, verify this condition. Yes, entered N. Is N is equal to Y? No, condition false. It will come outside of your loop. That's all. If he enters twice, if he has entered y, what happens? The condition is going to be true. It will go inside of your loop. Again, ask user to enter one more movie, push it into your collection. And end of this process, again, it will ask user to enter this. Hey, do you want to add one more item? If he say yes, it will go inside, add one. So as long as he says yes, it will keep on adding those many elements. Now, there is no end limit. Is able to add any type of data, is able to add n number of items based on his requirement. Right? Until he says no, it will just keep on adding n number of elements like your linked list. So when you talk about ArrayList, this is one of the linked list implementation. This class has been implemented using the concept of linked list. Just make developers' life easier. They add a lot of wrappers on the implementation, like how to add, how to generate nodes, how to link them, how to assign address, how to push your data, how to perform boxing. This stuff has already been taken care by your add method, remove method on behalf of you. All you need to do is you just need to call those methods and push your items. If you're really good at writing logics like programs, your loops, statements, classes, you could also develop your own class like ArrayList. Microsoft might have implemented, might have provided only few features. If you're really good at writing these things, you could also develop, you could also build your own component like ArrayList. And you can keep your own functionalities. Okay, any questions, guys?
No.
Okay, now you understood the concept of ArrayList, the difference between array and ArrayList. Now you know how to instantiate it and how to insert items into an ArrayList. Okay, now let's see how to print this. Here, whenever you want to print this, here you can use two things. Again, what is our action? Go to your collection, get that element and print it. That is what your action. Now, if there are 10 elements, the same action has to be repeated for all the 10 elements. If there are 20 elements, the same action has to be repeated for 20 elements. So again, your action has to be repeated those many times. When you want to repeat your action, what has to be done? Your approach should be towards a loop. If something has to be executed repeatedly, you should write a loop. Here, you can use either for. In the beginning, I said there is one more implementation of for, that is called for each. For each. For each. In case of for.
Go
ahead.
ఇప్పుడు అరేకి సైజ్ డిఫైన్ చేసినట్టు అరే లిస్ట్ కూడా ఒక సైజ్ డిఫైన్ చేయొచ్చా పర్టికులర్ సైజ్ అని?
చెయ్యొద్దు, అదే నేను చెప్పేది. నేను అప్పుడు చెప్పేది అదే కదా. అరేలో సైజ్ ఈస్ మస్ట్ మ్యాండేటరీ.
Yeah, ArrayList.
What is the need of defining a size here? Tell me, what is the need of defining a size?
Yeah, ఈ కేసులో అవసరం లేదు. కాకపోతే మామూలుగా ArrayList కూడా ఒక సైజ్ డిఫైన్ చేయొచ్చు అరేకి డిఫైన్ చేసినట్టు.
Now tell me, what is your requirement? What is the need of defining a size? I'll tell you the solution. Your answer is, your question is correct. For example,
okay,
if you want to have a fixed number of elements here in your collection, let's say, though it is ArrayList, I want to have only 5 elements. I don't want to use the choice. That is what your requirement, right?
Yeah, then in the limit and better than
simple, pretty simple. This is your action. Okay. Don't define any size, write for loop for int I is equal to 1, I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Now what happens? This loop will be repeated only 5 times. It will add only 5 elements.
Okay.
Read me. Okay. You have a lot of provided with your ArrayList. Okay. Again, this is also one of the case. You're right. As I said, this depends upon your requirement. But when it comes to your ArrayList collection, you don't have to specify any size. You have a lot of relaxation. If you want to store only 5, you can store only 5. If you want to store n number of, you can store n number of elements. In array, this is possible, but this is not possible. Right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Is that clear, your question?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, good. Good, guys. Next. Okay, now we know how to read your elements and push it into your array list collection. Now let's see how to print your elements. Here you can use both. You can use either for or for each. Let's see how to display elements of your array list using for. Then we will see for each. Okay. For int. So when it comes to your array list collection. So we already seen for, let's go with for each. Okay. It was time. For each. The difference between for and for each is whenever you want to write a for loop, you have to define the three things or any loop, for or while or do while. What are those?
Start, end.
Start
Increment.
and
Where to
increment.
start? Where to end?
Start increment.
What is the
and
variation
increment.
in each iteration? Here also same thing. Okay, for example, whenever I say movie list of. Okay, so if you want to extract any items from your movie list, if you want to make use of a for loop, again, you should follow the similar thing. But when it comes to for each, you don't have to specify those things. Whenever you want to extract something from any collection, or whenever you want to execute anything repeatedly, if you want to make use of for, you should define the three things, right? Where to start, where to end, and what is the variation between each iteration. When it comes to for each, this is a kind of a wrapper of your for, just to reduce some burden on the developer. C# has provided one more implementation of for loop. Internally, it also does the same thing. But here it will reduce some burden on the developer, where you don't have to calculate those three things. You don't have to tell the system where to start, where to end, and what is the variation. All you need to do here is, you just need to tell the system what is the type of data that has been stored into your collection. You just need to tell the type of data that is going to be extracted from your collection. That's all. But internally, it also does the same thing. Whatever you do with your for loop, it also does the same thing. Means when it comes to the ground level reality, whenever you want to repeat the execution, you should provide three things: where to start, where to end, and what is the variation. But here, this will reduce some burden on the developer. So you don't have to write all those stuff. You just need to tell the system what type of data is going to be extracted from your collection. Just define type of data that is being stored into your collection. That's all. And other stuff will be automatically taken care by your for each. I mean, and here we have stored string type of data into our collection. All I need to do here is, I just need to specify the type, string, movie, variable name. You would use another keyword in and your collection name. What is my collection name? Movie list. That's it. The rest of the stuff will be taken care by your for each. Are we writing where to start? Are we specifying where to end? Are we writing the variation part? No. Are you with me? So that's why in most of the cases, when you need to extract something from a collection, we'll be using for each. It will also reduce some complexity. In case of for, you have to write everything. You have to define the start position, you have to define the end limit, you should also define the incremental and decremental part. But here, that thing can be reduced. But internally, it also does the same thing. When it comes to ArrayList, whatever the things needs to be done with your linked list, same thing will be done here also. But we are not doing that explicitly. It also does the same thing internally. The moment, whenever I push my new item, what it has to do? It has to create one more node that has to be linked to the existing one, that has to be assigned, allocated with a unique address. This stuff will be done by your collection internally. On behalf of you, ArrayList will take care of doing that stuff. Here also same thing. On behalf of you, for each will take care of calculating those things, like where to start, where to end, and what is the size of this collection, and what is the variation. That stuff will be taken care by your for. Okay, here all you have to do is you just need to specify the type of element that is being stored into your collection, that is going to be extracted from your collection. Okay, here we have stored string items into my data type, my collection. That's why I specified this variable name as string in specify your collection name. Okay, now what has to be done? Now what it will do? It will go to your collection, and every time it will pick up one element in the same order that are being stored. Okay, all you need to do is you just need to print it, console dot. Right, if you want this to be printed in the array format, use write, otherwise use write line. S. Every time it will go to this collection, pick one item, keeps it into this variable. What is the variable name? Movie. Okay, and give some space between one item to another item. Okay, let's keep a message. Console dot write line. Movie list. Okay, let's run this. Okay, let's keep a breakpoint and see the live execution process. See, let's remove this previous. Now this is my collection, right? What is the size of your collection? 0. See, you can't even see single location created over there. Now, for the first time, we are going to ask user to enter this. We'll ask user to, let me remove this. Okay. Now we are going to ask user to enter the first movie name. Let's say Spider-Man. Now what are we doing? We are inserting. We are calling add method to insert this into your movie list. Now, the moment when you insert this, then only the location will be generated and your data will be captured into that corresponding location. Now see, here I can see the size got increased to 1. Now I can see only one item. Next, ask him to enter the choice. Hey, do you want to add one more? If I say yes, what happens? Now the choice is yes. It will again go and validate your choice. Yes, it will ask user to enter one more item. Yes, Iron Man. Now I'm going to insert second item. So far we have only one location got generated. Now I'm going to insert another item. See, the second location got generated. But if you look into this, locations are getting generated dynamically based on your requirement. But again, when it comes to ArrayList, the internal representation of ArrayList is also going to be similar to your array. I mean, data will be stored again based on index. In array, data will be stored based on index. The first location will be available at 0, and last location is going to be available at n-1th position. Here also same thing. The internal representation of your array list is also pretty similar to your array. All data elements will be stored based on index. Whenever I need to pick some element, for example, I would like to get 6th element of my array list. What should I do? I should supply that corresponding index. Where is my 5th element? It will be available at 4th index. So in case of ArrayList also, whenever you want to access any element of your array list, that corresponding index has to be supplied. For example, here I stored list of movie names. I feel like the Spider-Man movie is available at 4th position, like 4th location. What is the index of 4th location? 3. Now, if I want to extract that name, what should I do? I should supply that index as 3. If I fail to supply the right index, what happens? That leads to incorrect data. If I supply the right index, it will pull the right data. If I do not supply the right index, it will pull incorrect data. Right? So whenever you want to access a specific item, you should remember, always you should remember that corresponding index. If you are failed to supply the right index, that will pull wrong data. Right? So that is one of the biggest disadvantage identified with your index storage. If something is being stored based on indexes, retrieval is very faster. The advantage is the retrieval is very faster. If I just supply the index, it will directly go to that location, pick up that element. There are some advantages, at the same time, there are some disadvantages. What is the advantages? Your search process would become much more faster. If I supply the index, if something is being stored based on a numerical number, numerical data. For example, your textbook, let's say your textbook contains 10,000 pages. Your textbook contains 10,000 pages. If I want to read a particular topic in the textbooks, what I will do? Immediately I will go to index page. Index page. What does it contains? It contains the indexes of each and every topic. Index means page number. Like topic 1, page number 1. Topic 2, page number 5. Topic 6, page number 7. Here we have indexed the data using numbers. Numbers. If I want to read topic 3, what I will do? I will just read that number where it is available. I'll just see that index, and from there, I can directly navigate to that particular page. I'll directly go to that particular page. If I do not keep that indexes, what happens? In order to find out a particular topic, you have to search each and every page. You have to spend a lot of time. It will degrade your search process. If I keep index, I can directly go to that particular page. Your search process would become much more faster. That is the advantage of indexes. And in place of index 0, 1, if I keep something like A, B, C, A, D, B, what happens? You have to spend a lot of time to identify the characters. Okay. So if something is being stored based on numbers, it is very easy to identify them. If something is being stored based on characters, it is very difficult to identify them. That is the advantage of storing your data based on index. Okay. So the best advantage of your array and array list is a data is being stored based on index. Whenever you want to pick up any item, you just need to supply that index. What system will do? If the index is supplied, it will directly go to that location and pick up that item. The search process would become much more faster. All right, me. But at the same time, there is one more disadvantage. What is that? If you are failed to supply the right index, it will pull incorrect data. Okay. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So now we know that in case of ArrayList also, the data will be stored based on index. So like this, you can keep on adding a number of elements. Hey, do you want to add one more item? Yes. Batsman. Hey, do you want to add one more item? No. Now what happens? It will be stopped. See, my data got displayed. Spider-Man, Iron Man, Batsman. Okay. Now let's see how to access this using your for loop. How do I access it? If I want to access the same list of data using for loop, what should be done? As I said, whenever you want to write a for loop, first you need to know where to start, where to end, and what is the variation. Where should I start? My first data element is available at 0th position. I should start from 0. Where is my second location? At 1. Where is my third location? At 2. How many times my loop has to be repeated? That depends upon size of your collection. How do I know my size? You have to call count method. Whenever you want to know the size of your collection, you have to call count method. This will give me the size of my collection. So how many times it has to be repeated? Count number of times. Okay, let's see. Using for each. Using for. Okay. For int. Where should I start? Guys, you have to drive me. Where should I start? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Now, where should I start now? What should be my starting value? Where is my first element available in ArrayList collection?
At
0 position.
At 0. So where should I start?
At 0. Yeah.
0. Now, how many times it has to be repeated? I need to know the size of my collection. How do I know the size? You have to call count method of your ArrayList. What is my name of your ArrayList? Movie list. Dot count. So this will give me number of elements that are available in your collection. Next, every time it has to be incremented with 1. So in case of R, you have to do this much stuff. You should tell the system where to start, how many times it has to be repeated, how to increment the value, decrement the value. Here, nothing. For each is one of the implementation of for, where you don't have to write these 3 parts. You just to specify the type of element that is being stored into your collection. Right? And these 3 parts, internally, it also does the same thing. Whatever you are doing with for, it should also do the same thing. It's not a God, right? It should also do the same thing. Internally, it should calculate 3 parts: where to start, where to end, what is the variation, right? So if you go with for each, this burden will be reduced on the developer. Okay, here, print it, console dot write. What is my collection name? Movie list of index, right? So what is index? I. What happens? Initial I is going to be 0. Movie list of 0 means my first element will be extracted. Next I will be incremented with 1. Next it is going to be 1. Movie list of 1. Movie list of 2. How many times it will be repeated until it reaches end of the collection? Okay. Please enter the movie name. Yes, I want to add one more item. Yes, I want to add one more item. No, I want to stop. See, movie list using for. Movie list using for each. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is something about your array list. Okay, now I'll give you some assignments for array list. Please do write that. Write a program to store collection of even numbers, between 30 and 90. Into an array list. You have to store only even numbers, collection of even numbers. Next, write a program to find, write a program to store, write a program to achieve the following things. Write a program to achieve the following things. First one, store collection means like 10 integer values, 10 numbers. It can be anything. Store 10 different numbers into the array list collection. Next, arrange them in both ascending and descending order, and write another program for same collection to find minimum or least and highest values. Any questions, guys?
No,
No.
sir.
Okay. So let's move towards the next concept. So as I said, the best part of your array list is you don't have to specify any size, since it is one of the implementation of linked list. You can enter a number of elements. Here, data will be stored based on index. So that is one of the disadvantages that we identified with your array list, because there are some advantages. Your search process would become much more better. But if you have failed to supply the right index, that leads to a problem, right? Because if you're storing something based on a mathematical number, right? For example, the best simple example, let's say in your classroom, there are 100 people. Okay. Now, if I ask you to call rule number 20, what will you do? Will you be able to recollect it immediately? No. You should think, who is rule number 20? If I ask you to call Swapna, what will you do? Hey, Swapna, she's Swapna. You'll be able to recognize that person immediately. Try to understand the difference. Are you with me? If I ask you to call some person with his roll number, you might get confused. Roll number 20. Oh, maybe this guy. Oh, maybe this guy. If you are failed to call the right person, that leads to some damage. Right? If some name is given to you, if I ask you to call a person by name, you'll be able to recognize the person immediately. Oh, Swapna, she's Swapna. Prasad, oh, he's Prasad. Right? So, if data is being stored based on index, if the right index is supplied properly, it will become much more faster. Search process will become much more faster. If you have failed to supply the right index, it will be a problem. If you want to overcome this problem, what has to be done? Like your classroom. Instead of storing your data based on index, better get it stored based on its name. For example, here we are storing movie name. Okay. Now, for example, if you are booking your tickets online, the app will ask you to choose. First, it will ask you to choose the theater name. Then it will display a list of movies that are playing in that particular theater. Here, what we are doing, the movie that is being played in Satyam theater, we are storing it 0th position. And next theater movie, we are storing it 1 position. And IMAX movie, we are storing it 3rd position. Let's say if the user has selected here, we know that now we are storing all theaters movies list based on their index. Now we are storing Satyam theater movie details at 0th index. 0 means Satyam. Now we are storing IMAX movie details at position 1. And we are storing other movie, let's say Gokul theater movies at 2. Now, whenever the user select is theater as IMAX. Now, what should I display? I should display the movie name that is being played in IMAX. Now, I know that index 1 is allocated to IMAX. Now, what should I do? In order to pick that movie list, I should supply the index as 1. If I fail to supply that index as 1, now I supply the index as 2. Now, what happens? Instead of IMAX, it will pull the movie list of Gokul. Because in order to pull the movie list, you should supply that corresponding index. If you are failed to supply that corresponding index, what happens? That pulls another details list. To avoid this problem, what has to be done? A data is being stored based on some mathematical number, index. To avoid this kind of confusion, to make it more faster, to make the retrieval process more faster, what has to be done? Instead of index, get them stored based on theater name. Something like this. I'd like to get rid of this index. Rather, I want to replace this index with theater name. Let's say Satyam, Iron Man, INOX, Spider-Man, Gokul, something else. Are you with me? If you can get your data stored based on the key is going to be here, your theater name. If you can get your data stored based on your theater name, now what happens? If I want to pull something, I don't have to remember that index, mathematical number. I just need to supply the theater name. If I say Satyam, so whatever is associated with Satyam will be displayed. If I say Gokul, whatever is associated with Gokul will be displayed over there. Right? My process would become much more simpler, easier. And I don't have to remember that mathematical number like your classroom. If a roll number is given to you, you will take more time to identify that person. If the name of the person is given to you, you'll be able to recognize them immediately. So, in case of ArrayList, the data will be stored based on index. If the right index is supplied, your process will become much more faster. But if you have failed to supply the right index, it might lead to pulling wrong data. Right? Because when you talk about index, it is a mathematical number. So, what C# is suggesting, instead of storing your data based on index, wherever it is required, go ahead with the index. Right? But not only index, you could also store your data based on some key. In our case, you can store your theater name, movie names based on index, but you could also store your movie names based on theater name. In this case, I don't have to remember that index. I don't have to supply that index every time. Rather, I can directly supply the theater name. I can get that movie list stored based on theater name. In this case, I just need to supply the name, but not the number. Right? So in this case, this is going to be your key, and this is going to be your value. Your key is nothing but my theater name, and value is nothing but my movie name. So you can get your values stored on based on some keys, not only index. Now I can start storing my values based on some keys like this: Satyam movie name, INAX movie name, right? So whenever you want to store your data based on some keys, not on indexes, then your approach should be towards another collection that is called HashTable. In case of Array and ArrayList, data will be stored based on index. Whenever you want to pull a particular item, you have to supply that corresponding index. I would like to get rid of that process. Rather, I want to get my data stored based on some key. Like this. Here, what is your data? Movie name. I want to store this based on key. What is your key? Theater name. Okay. So whenever you want to store your data based on set of keys, then your approach should be towards another collection that is going to be HashTable. That is going to be HashTable. What is HashTable? In case of HashTable, HashTable is also one of the linked list implementation. HashTable is also one of the linked list implementation where I don't have to specify any size. Number of locations would be generated automatically. You can store m number of elements. And in case of HashTable also, you don't have to specify any data. It allows you to store any type of data. It allows you to store n number of elements. Read me. HashTable is not a type safe collection. You can store any type of data. Internally, data will be converted into object type. Every piece of data will be stored in the form of an object. And it is unlike your array. When it comes to storage, the internal representation is going to be little different. As I said, in array ArrayList, data will be stored based on index. In HashTable, data will be stored based on key. So each entry of your HashTable is going to be a key value pair. Each entry of your HashTable is going to be a key value pair, something like this: key and value. Whenever I insert any item, I should tell both what is the key and what is the value. For example, in this case, here my key is theater name, value is my movie name. And whenever I want to retrieve this particular entry, I just need to supply the key. If I say yes, Satyam, so whatever is associated with Satyam will be pulled automatically. No, I don't need to supply any index. If I want to pull something, INAX, what is playing in INAX? I just need to supply the key as INAX. I need to just supply the key as Gokul. So whenever you are adding a new entry into your HashTable collection, that entry is going to be the combination of both key as well as value. You should provide the key as well as value. So each entry of your HashTable is going to be the combination of key value. It is going to be key value pair. Always the data will be stored based on key. And you should not duplicate your keys. If I provide Satyam again, something like this, it doesn't make sense. Right? Whenever I say Satyam, it will get confused. Which entry has to be pulled? That's why you cannot store duplicate keys. Key should be unique. Next. Okay, so this is something about your HashTable. When we talk about HashTable, each entry of your HashTable is going to be a key value pair where you have to provide your key and value. And key can be any type, value can be any type. That depends upon your requirement. It need not be same. If you want, you can provide same type of key, same type of value. If you want to provide different type of key, different type of value, you can also do that. So as I said, it is not a type safe collection. You can store any type of data. It is a linked list implementation. You don't have to specify any size. You can enter a number of elements. And each entry of your HashTable is going to be a key value pair. Okay. And as I said, whenever I say non-type safe collection, what happens? You can store any type of data like your ArrayList. Internally, data will be converted into object and it will be stored in the form of a object type. And whenever you pull your data, it has to be converted back to your original type. So in case of HashTable also, boxing and unboxing takes place. When you store your data into collection, it will be converted into object. So boxing will come into the picture. Again, when you retrieve your data from the collection, Again, your object has to be converted into original data type. So unboxing will come into the picture. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Now, how do I access my hash table? And before that, I missed one thing. List. We'll come back to hash table later. Array list and list. What is the disadvantage of array list? Array list is one of the linked list implementation. This is one of the best advantage. It means you don't have to specify any size. You don't have to specify any size. Number of locations will be generated automatically based on your requirement. That is one of the best part of array list. But what is the disadvantage of array list? Apart from your index, forget about index. It's not a major disadvantage.
Boxing and unboxing.
Very good. It allows you to store any type of data. That is good part. I can store any type of, but internally, the data will be converted into another format. It will not be stored in the original format. It is not a type safe collection. So boxing and unboxing is required. To overcome that problem, what C# has done, they have implemented another powerful linked list implementation, that is list. List is pretty similar to your array list. Methods and everything is remain same. The only difference is in list also, list is also one of the linked list implementation. In list also, data will be stored based on index. Everything is same. The only difference is array list is not a type safe collection. List is a type safe collection. List is a type safe collection. It means whenever you want to store collection of items using list, like your array, the type of the data that is going to be stored into your list should be defined at the time of declaration. Once the type gets defined, it is going to accept only similar data elements. And data will be stored in the original format. No boxing and unboxing is required. Good part is, it is a linked list implementation. You don't have to specify any size. Number of locations would be generated by the system automatically based on your requirement. Right? So if you have a requirement of, if you are really not sure about which type of data is going to come from the end user, go with array list. If you are aware of the data type that is going to come from the end user, go with list. That's it. This is only the difference between array list and list. And this is a very, very important question. Interviewer will ask this question. Hey, what is the difference between list and array list? Both are linked list implementations. Both are dynamic collections where you don't have to specify any size. The only difference is ArrayList is a non-type safe collection where your type will be, original type will be converted into object. Boxing and unboxing is required. List is a generic collection. It is a type safe collection where the type of the data should be defined first. It accepts only those similar items and data will be stored in the original format. And it comes with a different namespace. This list is available in a different library. That is, ArrayList is available under system.collections. List is available under system.collections.generic DLL. We have another DLL. It comes with system.collections.generic namespace. And it comes with set of classes. One of them is list. And similar methods are there: add, remove, and count. Okay, I'll just turn it into list. Simple. In case of ArrayList, I just wanted to use list. What is the difference? In case of ArrayList, you don't have to specify any data type. But in case of list, see the difference. ArrayList, there are no less than greater than symbol. Right? But here it has less than greater than symbol. It means within that less than greater than symbol, you have to specify the type of data that is going to be stored into your list. As I said, list is a type safe collection. This is not a type safe collection. But apart from that, everything is same. Okay. Now, if I want to use list, I should specify what type of data is going to be stored. I'm going to store movie name. What is the type? String. That's it. Here, new list of string. That's all. There's no difference. Everything is same. See, did I change anything? No. Everything is same. Everything is same. If I store this into array list, boxing and unboxing will take place. If I store this into list, it accepts only string data types. If I define it as int, it accepts only integer collection. Right to me? But rest of the stuff is going to be pretty similar. I'm going to run this. Enter the movie name, Iron Man. Do you want to add one more? Yes. Spider-Man. Do you add one more? No. See. Okay. Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay. Now you know how to store your collection of elements using array list and list. The difference between array list and list. Next, let's move towards the next concept, that is hash table. Okay. So when you talk about array list and list, in all the three collections, data will be stored based on index, right? So sometimes that leads to a problem. So if you want to store your data based on some key, like your data name, that cannot be possible with your array list and list. Then your approach should be towards another collection called hash table. As I said, hash table is also one of the non-type safe collection, but the good part is it is a linked list implementation. This is one of the linked list implementation. This has been implemented using linked list, where number of locations will be generated on the fly. You don't have to specify any size. And one more good part is you will be able to store your data based on your favorite key. It allows you to store any type of data, but again, the data will not be stored in the original format. So boxing and unboxing takes place. Okay. Now let's see how to implement hash table in C#, how to store your data using key. Okay. So let's move that. Again, as I said, when you talk about hash table, technically, hash table is also one of the class, like your array list and list. We have a DLL called system.collections.dll. This DLL comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collections namespace. This comes with set of classes. We have already seen some of them, like ArrayList. ArrayList also comes with the same namespace. ArrayList is also part of this namespace. It comes with set of classes. One of them is hash table. This hash table comes with set of methods. Some of them are add, remove, and count. Whenever you want to insert a new entry into your hash table, as I said, each entry is going to be the combination of key and value, like your data name and movie name. You should provide the key and value. Each entry is going to be a key value pair. And whenever you want to remove a particular item, you would call this method and you have to supply that corresponding key. That's it. And if you want to know the size of your collection, call count method. Okay. So let's see how to implement this in your C#. Simple. In case of this, now I'm going to use hash table. Hash table movie list is equal to new hash table. So when you talk about hash table is a class, and add, remove, count. These are non-static methods. Again, whenever you want to call non-static methods, what has to be done? You should create object of your hash table. That is what I'm doing here. Okay, movie name and choice. But here, each entry of your hash table is going to be a key value pair. You should ask user to enter the key as well as value. Key means theater name. Value means movie name. Okay. And I'm going to define one more variable like string theater name. Theater name is my key. Movie name is my value. Okay. Now, how many times my loop has to be repeated? As long as he says yes, keep on adding a number of movies. Okay. So now I should capture two values from user. What are those? Key and value. Ask him to enter your key, which is nothing but theater name. Ask him to enter theater name. Ask him to enter movie name. So console.writeLine, please enter console.writeLine. Please enter key, which is nothing but theater name. Read that, store it into this variable, theater name variable. And move cinema name, okay, is equal to console dot read line. Yes, he has provided the key. Next, capture the value. Please enter the movie name, right? Value is nothing but movie name. Now, as I said, each entry of your hash table is going to be the combination of key and value, right? Dot add off. Now see, now it is asking you to enter key and value. What is the type of key? Object. Value is object. So you can store any type of key, any type of value. Internally, it will be treated. It will be stored as object. Now here, my key is going to be theater name and value is going to be movie name. Right? Now you can keep on adding a number of things. So here, index is not going to work. Index is not going to work, right? Because it is not being stored based on index. Okay, now let's implement a search. Now, if I want to search something in my list, okay, for example, whenever user selects, first, if you are booking your tickets using Book My Show, it will ask you to select the theater name. Once you select the theater name, now what has to be done? You should go back to your collection, okay, and you have to search the movie name based on theater name, right? So you have to ask user to select only theater name. You have to ask him to enter theater name. Theater is nothing but your key. Based on your key, you have to retrieve that corresponding value. Okay, now you don't have to provide any index. You just need to provide the key. Key is nothing but your theater name. If you want to search something, what has to be done? You have to ask him to enter the theater name, which is nothing but your key. Console.writeLine. Here I am defining a variable. Let's say search key, string, search key. Console.writeLine. Please select or enter theater name. You will enter the theater name. Based on this, you have to go and search in your collection. So you have to display a list of movies that are being played over. Okay. Now, for example, in multiplexes, right? There can be a number of movies. In this case, how do I store it? For example, Satyam is a multiplex and it has 5 screens. I can store them like this: Iron Man, Walter Viraya, right? Akhanda. You can store n number of items like this. In this case, key is 1, and you can store n number of movie names using comma separated. Later, I can split it. Okay. Okay. You will enter theater name. Now, what you have to do? So you have to extract that value based on the key. Okay. Now, movie name is equal to, what is your collection name? Movie list. This is your collection name. This is my hash table. You just need to provide the value entered by the user key. That's it. Now, what it will do? We are just providing the key. Let's say the user has entered the data name as Satyam. This is your hash table name. What is my hash table name? Movie list. Right? If I provide like this, earlier we used to provide index in case of array and array list, like A of 0, B of 0, B of 1. Here we are providing A of key, B of key, C of key, movie list of key. Right? So as I said, why it is highlighted with red color? So it is going to return some value, but it will be written in the form of an object because this is not a type-safe collection. Now, what has to be done? This has to be converted into respective data type string, right? Now, what I will do? I will use convert function. Convert to dot to string of this. Is equal to, okay. Next, here we have, whenever you want to convert something into string, you can use 2 ways. One is this way. Another one is this thing. In some of the places, you will see something like this, toString. toString. Convert that toString and toString. What is the difference between these two? So dart to string is a kind of implicit conversion. If this is not null, this works fine. If let's say I provided key as XXX, is there any data available with XXX? I provided invalid key. It will go and search in your collection. Nothing found. What happens? It returns null value. Here you're trying to convert null into string value. So what dart to string will do, as I said in the beginning, this is a kind of implicit conversion function. If the value is there, it will convert that into string. If it is null, this cannot be handled with your toString. It throws the error. It doesn't handle null values. So that's why we make use of explicit conversion function. What is the advantage of explicit conversion? It will take care of handling null values also. So when you join your real-time application, in few places you will see this kind of thing. In few places you will see this kind of thing. So don't get confused. Both will take care of converting one data type to another data type, like any data type to string. But the difference is it doesn't handle null value. It handles null value. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So here we are trying to perform a search. Okay. We are asking him to, we stored all movie names based on theater name. Okay. Now we are trying to perform a search. We are asking user to enter the theater name. And based on this key, you have to search your collection, pull that element. Your element is going to be movie name and display that. Console dot right line. Please select the movie. Console dot right line. Movie name. Okay, so let's search this. Keep your breakpoint. Please enter theater name. Let's say Satyam Valtheru Veeraya. Next, do you want to add one more movie? Yes. INAX Iron Man 3. Yes. INOX Avatar 2. Like this, you can store. So each entry is going to be a combination of key and value. Here, what is the key? Theater name. What is the value? Movie name. Okay. Do you want? Okay, what happened? Okay, INAX already been taken. So I'm trying to add a duplicate value. Already entered it as INAX. Again, I'm entering INAX. So what happens? Duplicate keys are not allowed. Theater name Satyam Valtheru. Next, yes, IMAX Avatar 2. Yes, INOX Iron Man 3. In INOX Iron Man 3, Spider-Man and Akanda. 3 movies are being played. No. Now we're at search process. Let's see. What is there in your list? This is my list. It has 3 entries. See, earlier we have seen index here. Now my data has been stored based on key. Here Satyam, Valtheru Veeraya, INAX, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Akanda, IMAX, Avatar 2. Now my data is being stored based on key, not an index. If the user selects INAX, now what you should do? Go to your collection, search your data based on key. Now I don't need to supply an index like 0, 1, 2. If I supply my key, that whatever is associated with my key, the corresponding data has to be extracted. Now we are going to ask user to enter the data name. right? And this is my movie list. What I'm doing, I'm searching my movie list using key, the theater name. Okay, so whatever is associated with this particular key, that data is going to be extracted. I'm displaying that. Please enter the movie name. I entered it as IMAX. It is control read. Enter it again. Satyam. Yes. IMAX. Spider-Man. Yes. Inox. Iron Man 3. Do you want to add one more movie? No. Please enter theater name. Let's say Inox. What is the movie name here? Oh, sorry. We did not write read statement. Okay. We are asking user to enter the theater name, but we did not read it. Right? So such key is equal to, we asked him to enter it, but we did not read it. So read that value. Such key is equal to console dot read line. That's why it is not searching. Okay. Ask user to enter the data name. Ask user to enter the data name and read that. Whatever he has entered, read that and search your list using that key. Okay. Please enter theater name Satyam. Movie name. Do I enter one more? Yes. Theater name IMAX. Movie name Spider-Man. Yes. Do you add one more? Yeah. Please enter key theater name Satyam. So Satyam has already entered. Satyam. Movie name Valperu. Yes. IMAX. Spider-Man. Do you want to add one more? Yes. INX. Avatar 2. Do you enter one more? No. Please enter theater name to be searched. Now I'm going to enter it as INX. See. What display? Avatar 2. What is there in INX? Avatar 2. Okay. And if you're storing a comma separated value, for example, here I'm storing something like this. You would ask user to select the movie list. If I display something like this, what happens? It doesn't look good. Rather, it is a comma separated value. Split this using comma and display them in the sequence order. Iron Man, in the next line, Walter, in the next line, Akanda. So how do I do this? So you can write your own program, but here we have a ready-made function available with your array. You can directly split that value using that separator. Once you split that value, it returns the result set in the form of an array. So what I can do here, console dot write line. Please select movie from the following. Okay. So we have a split function. right? Here it is going to be your movie name. Movie name dot, we have a function called split. If it is separated using comma or any separator, you can split them using the corresponding separator. So what it will return, split is a built-in functionality, which has been written by C#. It is going to return an array. You have to go to your array, navigate between all the locations and pull those items, display them. Now what I will do, I'm going to write for each. What is the type of movie string? Some S in. I'm going to split it. Movie name dot split. So it is separated with comma, so it should be split using comma. This is a character. I'm trying to see. I'm splitting movie name with comma because some of the movie names are splitted with comma. So it will split this with comma. Finally, it is going to return an array. Now we are navigating between the array. Every time it will pick one item and place it into S. We just need to display this. Console dot write S. Or you can use right line if you want, that has to be displayed in a separate line. Okay. Now run this. Enter theater name. Now these are multiplexes. It has two screens. Satyam. It is playing Valteru as well as Akhanda. Next, do you want to add one more movie? Yes. IMAX. It has three screens. What are those? Iron Man 3, Avatar 2, next Akhanda. Do you want one more? Yes. Cinemax. It has two screens. Akhanda, Avatar 2. Like this, you can keep on adding a number of things. Now, ask user to search. Do you want to add one more? No. Now we are asking user to enter theater name. Now, if I enter IMAX, here we have three movies are playing in IMAX, right? These are comma separated values. Now, what we are for which will do, it will split this string using comma. You will get three values. Finally, those three values are going to be written as a string. That array will have three locations, and these three values will be stored into three locations. That's why we are using for each. It will go to that array, pick up those three values, and display them. Very sad. Not display. Let me keep a breakpoint here and show you live execution process. If you want, you could also define an array and keep it here. MList. If you want, you can keep it right there, and you could also like this. And in case of this, you can keep MList. Now let me show you live execution process. Theater name, Satyam. Movie name, it has two screens, Akhanda, Valteru. Yes. Theater name, IMAX. Please enter movie name. Let's say Spider-Man, Avatar, Iron Man. Do you want to add one more movie? Yes. Cinemax. Okay, some ABC, BDS. No. Now here it got stopped. Now we are going to ask user to enter the data name to be searched. Data name to be searched. Press F10. Let's say I search it as IMAX. The keys IMAX. Here you have 3. Satyam has 2 movies. Cinemax has 2. IMAX has 3. Now what it will do? See. Right? We entered the key as IMAX. The value has written the list of movies that are playing in IMAX. Right? Now, it is a comma separated value. So we are going to split this with comma. Okay. Now, what is the list? Here I got 3 movies. As I said, when you split this value, what happens? It will split this using comma and returns in the form of an array. I'm just storing that into local array, local variable, right? It is going to return an array. I'm just storing that into my local variable. It has 3 values. Now navigate through this list, right? And print that value. First, what is there in is Spider-Man. Next, it will go to next location. What is there? Avatar. It will go to next one. What is there? Iron Man. Okay. Next, this is not required. We are already printing it here. Came out. See. Please select the movie. First, we asked him to enter the theater. He entered as IMAX. Now we asked him to please select the movie from the following. We displayed them: Spider-Man, Avatar, Iron Man. This is not required. You can remove this statement. Any questions, guys? So why I use this function is like in most of the real-time applications, sometimes we'll be reading data from CSV files. CSV files. What is a CSV? Comma separated. CSV contains comma separated values, right? So you'll be getting the string values separated by comma. Now, how do I read them properly? Split them using comma, using split functionality, and get them stored into one of your local array. Then you can use whatever needs to be used. Okay. So in most of the real-time applications, you will be using split function. Any questions, guys? And here are 2 scenarios. Either you can directly use it here. Right to me. Either you can directly use it here. But if I use it here, what happens? Every time it will split. Every time it will split. Right to me. So if I use it here, what happens? This will be done only once. And just go through that list. Okay. So you have to decide where to write this. So this is one of the best coding practice. Get them stored into local list, then use it. And if I keep it, the complexity will also be increased. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. So this is something about your HashTable. Next, one more disadvantage of your HashTable is, for example, enter the theater name. Let's say, I'll tell you. If I want to, here we are just searching it. We are searching for a particular entry. Now I want to display all movies and theaters names. Whatever is there in the collection, I want to get all those things displayed on the screen. I want to display everything. If there are 10 elements in my collection, I want to display all elements of my collection. How do I display that? Right, for each. In case of for each, as I said, what has to be written? You have to specify the type of the entry added to your collection. In the array ArrayList, we have added a single value. But in dictionary, in HashTable, we have added a single entry, but each entry is combination of key value. A key can be different from value type. The types can be different. Key can be integer, value can be string. Key can be string, value can be integer. It doesn't matter that you have to specify same types. It can have a different type, it can have a different type. All right. So basically, each entry of your hash table is going to be a key value pair. So to accommodate key value, so what C# has done, they have designed a special data type called dictionary entry. Dictionary entry. So the type of each entry in hash table is going to be a dictionary entry, which contains key and value. So what is the type of entry? It is not a string, it is not a int. Internally, it will have two types, key type as well as value type. So they combine these two into a special data type called dictionary entry. Dictionary entry. Some value, something like D in your collection. What is my collection name? Movie list. So what it will do? Every time it will go to this collection, pick one entry. What is the type of that entry? Dictionary entry. Internally, it will have both key and value. Like a string and integer, Microsoft has designed a special data type called dictionary entry, because in this collection, each entry is going to be a combination of key and value. Just to accommodate that, they created this special type. Right? Every time it will go to this collection, pick one entry and keeps in DE. Now, what is there in DE? DE will have both key and value. Here you can see DE dot. Here I can see key and value. Key is nothing but your data name. Value is nothing but your movie name. I'm just displaying this. Console dot right line. Data name is nothing but D dot key dot to string, because it is stored in the form of object, right? Next. Movie name, movie list, which is nothing but value dot to string. So what it will do? Every time it will pick one entry. Each entry is nothing but a dictionary entry, which will have both key and value. Why I'm using dot to string? Because key and value will be stored internally, because it is not a type safe collection. Internally, it will be stored in object format. That's why I'm converting them into string. Okay, now write down. Data name, Satyam, now we are storing Akanda. Yes, MX, Avatar 2, Inox. Sorry, do you want to enter? Yes. Inox, movie name, Spider-Man. Do you want to enter? No. See, now what happened? It has gone through the entire list, entire collection. Every time it has picked one entry, which is nothing but key value pair. See, theater name Satyam, movie list Akanda. Theater name Inox, movie list Spider-Man. Theater name IMAX, movie list Avatar. Okay. But the thing is, when you talk about your collection, data can be stored in any format. Data will not be sorted by default. Data will not be sorted by default. Ready me? So data can be stored in any order. If you want, the data has to be sorted in ascending order automatically. If you want the data has to be sorted automatically, then your approach should be towards another collection that is called sorted list. Sorted list is one of the implementation of your hash table. Sorted list is one of the implementation of your hash table. Everything is same. This is also not type safe collection. It allows you to store any type of data. The only difference is this is a kind of wrapper on top of your hash table, where data will be sorted automatically. You don't have to write any programs to sort your data. Data will be sorted automatically. So if you want your data has to be stored in some ascending order, then make use of sorted list. Otherwise, go with hash table. Simple. If I just change this name, it will become sorted list. In place of hash table, if I make it sorted list, that's it. Array, nothing is different. Everything is same. Everything is similar to your HashTable. The only difference is in HashTable data will not be sorted by default. But in sorted list, data will be sorted by default. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. So I think it's already 10:30. So we will discuss other collections tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So please do practice these. Okay.
Okay, sir. Please share the recording as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.